Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast. High noon on Tuesday of draft week. Wulf, Zach Berman here, joined in studio by our old friend, Sheil Kapadia of The Ringer, who said on his podcast yesterday he's run out of words to say about the draft, and yet we've locked you in here for another hour.
Not only locked me in, but given me homework, Zach. When I come in, I just want to talk, catch up. We can talk various Eagles topics. Bo is like, oh, we got to do this game, come up with 30 names. Come on. I'm not doing that. If I'm doing that next time, there better be some merch waiting for me. There better be an Olipop waiting for me. I need something.
Protein shake or something like that.
We have a mug you can have on your way out if you want.
Maybe.
I mean, listen, you're here with the Owl draft has a long storied history. We can't do it without you.
I mean, you could, but yeah, you're not. You don't have to. I'm here. So there we go.
We will do that. We're going to draft 30 different players, 10 each, who we think the Eagles are most likely to draft over the course of draft weekend. Zach, how you doing? We got a special guest here aside from Sheil. Very exciting day at the PHLY studios.
Yeah, Reed is with me today. He's pumped. He was talking about the studio. Excited to be
got
here.
His Maxi jersey on.
Yep. I'm excited for the show. I woke up this morning and I saw a note that I left myself in the middle of the night, and it was I had to decipher it. I had to decipher it.
Jerry Seinfeld over here.
Yeah, it was Fangio, Surtain. Who was the corner that I can't pronounce it. Ojamagia, the corner
Michael
from
Ojemudia?
Yeah, the corner from Iowa. And I guess I had some thought about the types of corners that Fangio had in Denver, and I wanted to research the correlation before this morning. But when I saw those three names, when I woke up, I saw those three names. I was like, what was I thinking about? But then I put it together. Anyways.
And what did you learn?
What did I learn? Tall, long corners. So this is what it was. It was something in the middle of the night I was thinking about. When Fangio, in his time in Denver, only took two corners in the first three rounds. It was Surtain and Ojemudia. And then last year, Cam Smith in Miami. And all of them were like height, weight, speed type prospects. So something to think about.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So maybe Terry Arnold, not his top of the list cup of tea potentially.
We'll look into it. Yeah.
Before we get going on the proceedings, Sheil, do you have some grievances you'd like to air?
I don't know. We don't need to start with the grievances.
We don't need to start with the grievances?
Yeah, I'll mix them in as we go. Once I get bored with this game, I'll just take over the show.
Yeah, that's
and
fine.
list them then. Yeah.
I do want to, Zach, you mentioned the Brock Bowers lineage yesterday. So I wanted to look it up because you talked about it. I think we have that here. The leading receivers of the national championship teams over the past 10, 11 years.
Based on receptions. That's what I said. Not receiving yards.
First of all, why would it be based on receptions?
Because I was talking about volume. Oh, yeah. Okay, go on.
Well, there's really only one or two guys who it's different for. But why on earth would you use receptions instead of yards?
That was just because I think if I used receptions, it included Mike Williams over.
His point.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
It helped reinforce.
That's not how it worked. Like,
it helped reinforce
receptions are not more important. This is going back to a Nelson Aguilar 60 catch season.
It helped reinforce
nonsense.
The point.
Anyway, so this year, Roman Wilson. You drafted Roman Wilson in the top 10?
In the top 10? No.
Or top 20?
I'm not drafting Roman Wilson in the top 20. No.
Okay. Right.
No.
Good player. Brock Bowers is there.
Mm-hmm.
I can pull
Devontae Smith was pretty good, right?
There we go. Brock Bowers twice. Devontae Smith, Jamar Chase, good players. Jerry Jeudy. Now, also look at the amount of receiving yards there because you've got Calvin Ridley, Mike Williams, Calvin Ridley again. Then it drops down, Devin Smith and Rashad Green. So, I mean, this is not a bad list. This is not a foolproof list. This is just a normal list. And most of those players are wide receivers who had productive, careers and also super productive in college.
Yeah, I mean, my point was that Brock Bowers was the best receiver on the best team in college football 2 years in a row. Teams that had George Pickens, that had A.D. Mitchell, that had Jermaine Burton. I can keep going. That had Darnell Washington.
Ladd McConkey.
That had Ladd McConkey. That had and Georgia felt the best way for them to score touchdowns, the best way for them to move the ball was to get the ball to Brock Bowers. I've never once ever suggested taking Brock Bowers over a legit starting tackle. What I'm saying is that you can look at history in a lot of different ways. As a matter of fact, I think that argument was used to not take Kyle Hamilton at one point, right? The history of safeties in the draft, and Kyle Hamilton is now an All-Pro player. When you said to me, what's your argument for Brock Bowers? My argument was that if there's anyone with the best chance of being an All-Pro in this draft at his position, like the best player in the league at his position, I think Brock Bowers is the best pathway to being the best player in the league at his position. That was my argument.
Yeah, I don't know that I agree,
Okay.
even with that part. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr., you could make the case for Malik Neighbors. Yeah, I'm not like, I enjoy Brock Bowers like everybody else. I would just say if the first round is about making bets that I feel good about, I would be like, that's one I can miss on. If someone else drafts him and he's a Hall of Fame player, that's fine. We're going to take someone else. It's just, it's been a hard position to evaluate for the entire NFL over the last decade. You can go back 30 years. I think there's been 3 All-Pro tight ends taken in the first round, I believe, in the last 30 years. It's just every year we talk ourselves into, no, this guy's different. No, this guy's different. And with Brock Bowers, he's like these 243 pounds. Like he's not going to be an all-around blocking like Dallas Goedert type tight end. He's just going to be a different guy. So maybe in the right spot, he could be fantastic. He could be one of the best tight ends in the NFL next season. I would just let someone else make that bet. That's all.
Yeah, I think
I'm tired of talking about Brock Bowers.
That's fine. I know.
Move on.
Brock Bowers, Butcher Box, lots of B's. We're going to talk about Butcher Box in a little bit. We won't get there just yet, but it's just a little fun. All right, before we get into the actual draft, Sheil, just general Eagles thoughts here. Tackle, corner seem like the obvious answers in the first round. Do you think it's definitely going to be one of those? Do you think Howie has a surprise up his sleeve? Anything that's on your radar that you haven't really gotten off your chest yet?
Always a chance for a surprise, but no, I expect it to be an offensive lineman or a corner. I think you look at just the way the draft is shaping up, where they're picking, where they could trade up to, where they could trade back to, what their needs are now in the future, what they value, and I think that those are the 2 positions to keep an eye on. I will tell you what I am surprised by, and you had less on, and you didn't talk. This Bill Belichick story, I'm like shocked has not gotten more. And I know we're talking about the draft and we have 30 prospects to talk about, so I don't feel bad about not talking about it right now. Like I was surprised you didn't ask less about it yesterday, given his institutional knowledge. And I don't know if people are just like annoyed by it, bored by it. They don't even want to think about it. But the fact like that was a big story. Like it was something we all thought, yeah, okay, probably something like this is happening for the biggest sports outlet in the country and the most credible NFL writers in the country to get on the record that Jeffrey Lurie was speaking to confidants. It wasn't like, he was speaking to confidants and then eventually got to the point where, no, we're not handing the whole franchise over to Bill Belichick. Let's just chill here. Like, it takes something to get from point A to point B. Like you have a process there where you think about it. And now you have a coach in Nick Sirianni who has been in the playoffs 3 straight seasons, who has gotten his team to the Super Bowl, who not only has been stripped of his power, but now knows that the owner was speaking to confidants about replacing him with Bill Belichick last year. And the minute he loses a game, 2 games, that's all anyone's going to be talking about. So I don't know. Like, what is your guys' sense of the fan base? I don't think it's just you. Like, I'm shocked. When I saw that, I was like, this is great. Like, this is nuts. Like, this is a huge story. This doesn't happen. And you guys know this too, that's what was reported.
Yes.
Like, that's what they were able to get on the record on ESPN.com. I'm sure they had other little nuggets in there that they said, all right, it's not strong enough or we can't get it in there right now. So that, like, I'm very surprised that has not taken a bigger
and they
football
had enough
locally.
to even get Howie on the record.
Well, that's how some of this to take people. Yeah, sometimes when a person agrees, I will go on the record to confirm this. If you don't do that, like there are those give and takes that happen throughout the course of reporting
Showing
process.
how the tofu's made.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm just surprised. I'm curious what people think in the chat about that. What you guys think in the chat? Because when I read that, I'm like, this is a huge story, and then I didn't feel like it got the pub locally that maybe I expected.
Well, let me ask you the question that Bo asked me, and I've actually talked about this with a few other people. Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni spoke on Tuesday of last week. That story came out Wednesday of last week. Typically, not always, but typically they do their pre-draft press conference Thursday, 1 week before the draft. Do you think that the Eagles moved it to Tuesday knowing that story was coming out Wednesday and did not want to subject Howie and Nick to those questions?
I mean, I was going to say 100%, but since I don't know 100%, I'll say 95%. Yes, when these stories are coordinated, oftentimes the subjects, or if anyone's involved, will ask as a courtesy, hey, when is this coming out? And usually there's no harm in telling them when it's coming out, and so you tell them when it's coming out. Yeah, I mean, can you imagine if that story came out the day before? I mean, I'm wondering about this whole thing, because I look at it, I zoom out, and I say they got Vic Fangio. I say this is the most talented group of skill position players of our lifetime, probably, that the Eagles have ever had, like legitimately. NFC, wide open. Cowboys, bad offseason. Commanders, rookie quarterback. Giants, train wreck. Like, I can easily make the case that they're going to bounce back. This is going to look good. And then there's just this cloud is hanging over the season, that when a coach knows that there's this much pressure on him, not just thinking, hey, maybe I'll get fired. Like when Doug went into his last season, he probably thought, all right, maybe if this is he probably didn't even think that, honestly, because he probably had no reason to believe they were going to go 4-12. But now to have a coach knowing that, like, the first misstep, and the bar is high. The bar is not like 9-8. I mean, the bar is divisional round, probably.
Yeah, but I do think Nick knew that even before that story came out.
Yeah,
right?
but this
I mean,
is
when
still
it was
different.
posed to Jeffrey Lurie about like Nick being on the hot seat, Jeffrey didn't deny it.
Yeah.
Jeff's like Jeffrey said every coach needs to perform to keep their job, something of that nature. And the reality is like we did this mock meeting with Lurie and Sirianni. They kept Sirianni in the win for over a week. Like
that's the other thing.
So Sirianni knew that this was not them just boat shopping, right?
Where was Lurie yacht shopping?
St. Martin, I believe.
How far is that from Antigua, where Bill Belichick was meeting with Arthur Blank?
It's an easy boat ride.
I'm just asking questions.
I'm
just asking questions about the Caribbean. That's all.
I think for the most part, like, this story was not news to Nick Sirianni. He presumably knew all of these things. It's for him newsworthy because now everybody else knows about it, right? But I think, tell me if you disagree with this, that the Belichick flirtation was more of a specific moment in time than necessarily if Nick is ousted this year, they would go back to Belichick. That's sort of how I feel about it. What do you think?
I don't feel that way.
You don't feel that way?
No, I mean, I think you're right that they could, if they move on from Sirianni next year, they could open the search, but I think he's absolutely on the list. I think Jeffrey Lurie would love to stick it to old Bobby Kraft and say, I'm bringing him in with this roster, and we're going to like Lurie has to look at this and say, since I have been the owner, what was the year?
1994.
Since 1994, when have I had an offensive group like this? And maybe the offensive line isn't as good, but I mean, these are all guys in their prime, like all pro caliber players, 2 at wide receiver, 1 at running back, 1 at quarterback, and a tight end who's still pretty good. Like it takes a while to build that group, you know?
So as somewhat of a Lurie historian, I like to think myself.
Okay.
You could write a book on it.
If you go back, I mean, they had a vacancy, and he spoke to Jimmy Johnson, right? I mean, he's pursued. He talked to Dick Vermeil at one point. There's
Brian Billick.
There's the
great appearance
old,
on this program.
there's the Jalen Rose. It's not Jalen Rose's quote,
What
but
was the product?
Something very strange.
I heard.
Something that was not going to work.
Yeah. You're as loyal as your options, right? You're as loyal as your options. And I think that how often is, I won't say an 8-time Super Bowl winning coach. I think I saw that in the story, and that's not the case. A 6-time winning Super Bowl head coach available.
Shout out to DFOP Nick Field for
fighting
back on that.
Well, I think they were counting his.
Exactly. I shouldn't, but I was just kind of quoting what the story was. So I think that it's like, and we said this at the time, that if Bill Belichick's available and you don't have that conversation, you're almost doing like a disservice to due diligence. But the fact this was more than a conversation, it certainly seems. If Howie's on the phone with Bill, if Jeffrey Lurie is reaching out to a confidant about the feasibility of working with Bill Belichick, this is not just saying, what do you think about this? This is really weighing like the merit of such a change.
I also think it's part of the larger picture, which is that like given the way that the roster is assembled right now, like, and some of the moves they've made, like, you know, the flying in the face of things they've done in the past, like the Saquon Barkley signing, this meshing of the coaching staff who have not worked together before, given the way that they ended last season, like they look good on paper, but there is like real blow up potential
100%.
for this
No
team.
Kelsey,
like
no,
yes,
yeah,
like the
I mean,
offensive
it's
line
like,
could
yeah.
be a disaster. Like this could be a team that totally blows up next year.
And then the other thing I thought about, I agree with that. I've been calling them boomer bust. The bust, I feel like, is not like, I don't think they're going to win 4 games,
Yeah.
but like 8-9 is a huge bust for them. Like 7 and
Sure.
10 would be a disaster for them. And then the other aspect of it, which I was thinking about this last week, because we did a show about which GMs have the most at stake going into this draft. And so, you know, you do the exercise, you're going down the list, and like Howie Roseman doesn't even cross my mind. I'm like, all right, yeah, he kind of has something at stake here, but whatever. If they lose, Howie Roseman's not getting blamed. He's built a good offense. We can absolutely quibble with the decisions on defense and the personnel there. And then I was like, well, what could be like the one scenario where he does have something at stake? And it's what you guys talked about, where if somebody like Belichick comes in, he can say whatever he wants about, oh, we want to work together and they're going to be fine. And yeah, we like each other. We have a good relationship. I mean, Howie Roseman knows that his ability to shape the franchise, which he's done a very good job of, 2 Super Bowls in the last 7 years, gotten there. His ability to shape the franchise is much easier with a coach like Nick Sirianni. I mean, it's not even close compared to Bill Belichick. So, like, that's the only scenario where his power or his role in the organization, in my opinion, gets threatened. If it's Bill Belichick or a coach of that level.
Yes, that's the
other
conversation
part
we
of it.
had the day it came out. That my reading of that of like the way that the words were carefully written in that story is that this is Jeffrey who had the flirtation with Belichick. I think Howie called Belichick, sure, but I think he was rooting for Nick to stay because of that power dynamic. He knows that if Belichick comes in, they may have a good relationship now, but that is something that is absolutely combustible and a threat to his power.
I agree with it. I think, and I know what you're going to say, that they have a good relationship, which I think is true, and I'm sure they respect each other. And it could even be a situation. Now we're getting way down the line. I know we can get to the draft stuff. People are like,
we will get to the draft.
But like, it's one thing to have a good relationship, but then when you're working together and one thing goes wrong and somebody has to make a call on something, it's just going to be different. And I will say this for Lurie, like looking at all these other teams, I mean, his main priority, his number one priority is absolutely to win Super Bowls and as many as possible. And that's just not the case with a lot of the owners in the NFL. I mean, I think it's come to light a little bit more this offseason. Lurie spending on players and the flexibility it gives to the GM and the coaching staff. And you look at a team like the Cowboys, 31st in cash spending this year, and they're crying poor, and they're saying we can't fit Dak and CeeDee and Micah Parsons under the cap. And it's like, that's because the owner didn't spend and you didn't sign them early. Like, that is your fault. And I don't think people look at those two owners and ownership that way, probably, but I think it's been a little more, come to the surface this offseason.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I think that one thing that Lurie would say, like, people don't know enough, or maybe not, or might not give him enough credit for, is how obsessed with this he is. And this is something Bo's talked about before. Like, this is his primary job. It's not as if Jeffrey Lurie has like all these other outs. He's not running company X and like, he's the chairman CEO of the Eagles. That's his job, and it's really his legacy at this point too. And so he's very he wants people to know how obsessed with this he is. Yeah. Is something going on with Reed?
No, I'm just I think it's so sweet. Reed is in the chat. He's sitting out there. He's watching the show. He's got his little snack. He loves you. Zach, this is fantastic. What a wonderful thing.
I do got to say, as like devastating as last night was, like watching that game and the last 14 seconds, it was one of the coolest experiences of my life. It was like the first, Reed didn't have school last night. I convinced Emily to allow him to stay up. Like, he didn't want to go to sleep. He was up and he's usually in bed by like before 8:00, right? He was up at like 10:15. He was so devastated when they lost, and like, he's screaming at the TV the whole time. When Maxey hits the long three, like, he woke up the whole house. He was in, and it's really cool seeing that through his eyes. And to be honest, like, he loves football, and I don't get to experience football with him. I don't get to experience Eagles with him, right? And so that was the first time I've had that type of experience with him. And just as a dad, it was pretty awesome.
The best. So, yeah, that's great.
That's great. All
I
right.
was quizzing him out there. Do you think he appreciated me quizzing him? Just asking him 400 sports questions, or no? Is he going to go home and be like, God, that guy?
No. He likes sports trivia. He asks me. He asked me today, who's going to be the last player in the drive-in? Who's going to be the last player in the draft? And I was like, well, I don't know who's going to be the last player in the draft.
Stumped
and
you.
He said, well,
Yeah.
Brock Purdy was the last player in the draft. And I said, yeah, but you didn't know going into the draft that Brock Purdy was going to be the last player in the draft. So yeah, he won't mind that at all.
All right. Well, Sheil bringing some good energy today. Some good
Sheil hijacking the show as usual, just like old times.
This has been very good. And if you want more of Sheil, you of course can read him at The Ringer. You can listen to him on the Philly Special and the Extra Point Taken podcast. His partner on those, Ben Solak, little news yesterday going with his anti-food take, right? That he does not enjoy the process of eating. And I mean, a ridiculous take. However, like the idea that like there is pressure on putting a meal together is true. And one of the ways that, maybe you could help yourself out by just freeing up some brain space is our friends at ButcherBox, because ButcherBox is going to bring you some peace of mind. Easily find high-quality meat and seafood you can trust. We're talking 100% grass-fed beef, free-range organic chicken, pork-raised, crate-free, and wild-caught seafood. Sheil may not necessarily be the target audience here, but that's okay. The ButcherBox is bringing you ultimate convenience, delivered right to your door, free shipping, always, and curated to customized box plans. Here's what you need to know. ButcherBox is offering our listeners an amazing offer where new users get free meat plus $20 off your first box. Join today using our link at butcherbox.com/PHLY and use code PHLY to receive this exclusive offer today before time runs out.
Bo was just talking about Reed being here. About like an hour before he was here, Reed had a huge sneeze. And I say that because he has bad allergies, or he has allergies, right? So I'm using him as a pawn here or as a prop, if you
Movable
will.
chess piece.
Yeah, because whenever his allergies come up, I know the place to turn, and that's Rite Aid. Okay, because allergy symptoms usually appear shortly after exposure to allergy triggers, and you have itchy and red eyes, swollen or watery eyes, sneezing, nasal congestion, runny nose, scratchy throat, coughing. And what can you do for relief during allergy season? Well, sign up for Rite Aid Rewards emails at riteaid.com/rewards to receive email pollen alerts for your area. Actually, we were doing something. He had homework where you have to write down all the things that come to mind with spring, and one of the things he said was pollen. Right? So this is allergy season, and you can try you can go to your local Rite Aid for over-the-counter options like a nasal rinse. When symptoms are flaring up, there's antihistamines and other things you can do. Or you can even speak to a pharmacist there for different types of allergy for the allergy medication. You can always ask the Rite Aid pharmacist for recommendations on ways to get relief during allergy season. Visit your local Rite Aid today. Stock up on allergy relief or catch up on your immunizations for RSV, shingles, and more. Walk in or schedule a vaccine appointment at riteaid.com.
All right, let's get down to business. Go ahead.
In the chat, they're making the point. What was the first thing I said to Reed when I saw we were talking about the say? I said, you got to go through these losses so that when you get the good win, you're going to appreciate it that much more. And that echoes being said, reflected in the chat here. Like the young kids who get the wins so early, the championships, you need the losses. And then you get the wins. You're going to love it. So
all those teenagers in Boston right now, right? They didn't experience that.
But they're having a nice, let's make sure those Celtics lose in the playoffs. Sure. And then we don't have to worry about the other teams.
All right. The All draft, wherein we decide who we think the Eagles are going to draft. Let's flash up the results from last year's results. Julia, we'll notice that Bo correctly predicted 3 of his 10. Zach and Sheil completely shut out. Nice job by Bo, wherever he is. And a dominant victory. The scoring here is 3 points for a correct prediction, and then a bonus for the round. So if you pick the person the Eagles draft in the first round. That's 4 points, 5 points in the second round, and on. As the defending champion, I suppose it is my turn to go first. We'll let Sheil go second as the guest and Zach third. And I quickly listened back to last year's episode to remind myself of the rules. Not a snake in this draft, which you were very upset about, but the rules are the rules.
ZB, I was doing some work because I knew Bo would be bringing up past draft takes. This man, the Eagles have had 4 first-round picks in the last 3 years, and he has had 3 of them on record in print and podcast form. Can you imagine this
print
guy?
And podcast.
If he had 3 out of the last 4 first round
I got 3
picks
in 1 year.
No. That's different. This is some nonsense game. Okay, you go on.
No. This is the record.
No.
This
We
is the
all
record.
know that you predict 7 different
This is
things.
the record.
Zach has predicted the same thing. Zach got Jordan Davis. Zach got Devontae Smith, I believe. And even if you want to ding him for Nolan Smith,
you cannot
he had
give him
Nolan
Nolan
Smith
Smith
as a first round pick.
You
They
cannot give him
drafted
Nolan
4
Smith.
guys. He's got 3. I have
Also, in my write-up, I literally said that they're going to try to trade up for Jalen Carter.
I have 2.
Okay, we all say correct things that are not the exact right thing in the write-up.
I've gotten 2
it.
of the last 4.
Yes.
Even though I was not covering the Eagles last year, I somehow was able to predict the Jalen Carter trade up. I got this.
Well
I have
done.
2 of the last 4. Bo has 1 of the last 4 first-round picks.
Dominated
He's gotten correct.
last year.
And let me also
this game
remind
means
you
more to me than anything.
that for 7-round mocks, the Kapadia standard is still the one.
yes.
2020, Jalen Rager, Kayvon Wallace, and Jack Driscoll.
Yes, that was
Get
impressive.
a Jack Driscoll on your 7-round mock
I got
docket,
Kyron
and then
Johnson
talk
2
to me.
years ago.
I don't even know who that is. All right. Let's
Went
go.
later than Driscoll. A much better selection.
I appreciate that. But
Yeah,
you're
I
always-
mean, he would be bringing that up every show.
You're always as good as your next one, though, right? So your eyes are forward for a reason.
Okay.
I disagree with that.
Your eyes are forward for a reason. I like that. All right. I'm gonna go to start. I know that the groupthink, and Zach, you wrote this on All PHLY, has sort of coalesced around the idea that while tackle might be the most popular position, Cooper DeJean is the most likely player. I don't see Cooper DeJean as the Eagles guy. He's got the height speed that you talked about, but given the Eagles sort of SEC kink over the past few drafts, I'm not so sure that Cooper DeJean is their kind of guy. I think they'd love to trade up for Terry and Arnold. I think there are a bunch of tackles who are here, but I am actually going to go with, as my number 1 pick, I'm going to go with Kool-Aid McKinstry because I think that he is the most likely settle at 22 or move down a couple spots if things don't exactly go the way that they want to move up. So I'm going to go Kool-Aid McKinstry as my first pick.
You think they would stick at 20? Easy, cheater. You think they would stick at 22 and take Kool-Aid McKinstry?
I think that would be their that would be the plan B or whatever, or plan C. It's not the most exciting thing to them, but I think that if they had to pick and their top tackles are off the board, they could do that. Yes.
Kool-Aid McKinstry and Cooper DeJean are on the board at 22.
Yeah, that is my take here. I think they would take McKinstry over DeJean.
Really?
Interesting.
Okay.
I mean, I'll say this about McKinstry, and I wrote about this today on All PHLY, that I like the profile when you're drafting at a certain point of the post-hype guy, the guy who has been a first rounder throughout the entire process, and you start to pick apart. Kyle Hamilton was that 2 years ago. Peter Skorinsky was that last year, right? I think Fautanu and
I actually want to ask you guys
Kool-Aid
about
McKinstry
Fautanu.
are like that this year, where these guys were considered no doubt top 10, top 15 picks, and then because they've kind of been in the spotlight the whole time, you start to find their warts.
I have a feeling that Fautanu, there's a bit of an Andre Dillard thing here, where it could end up that the other tackles go ahead of him. He gets pushed down, and the Eagles are oh, we didn't think that Fautanu was going to be here. This could be our guy. Now he's a left tackle primarily. Could he move to the right side? Potentially. He's got those itty bitty teeny tiny hands. That might not be a Jeff Stoutland thing, but I don't know. I feel like that is a possibility. I don't know if he's on our lists, if he's going to be drafted by anybody, but that's just something on my radar.
I made the case that the itty bitty hands are no one can see you holding.
Yeah,
you want
absolutely.
the small hands.
Yeah. Now Stoutland has a slight preference for the big hands.
Is that
it
true?
Seems, if you
Okay.
just sort of look at the guys, but yeah, I mean, I could see a.
What else do you know about Jeff Stoutland? All right. Okay. So you went Kool-Aid McKinstry. I like a Kool-Aid McKinstry. I would be surprised if I could be wrong. If you asked me who do I think if DeJean and McKinstry were on the board at 22, who would they take? I think if McKinstry was their top guy at 22, they would really try to move down. But that could be wrong. All right. I'm going to go with the guy I have on record as my prediction for the Eagles. I guess I might as well just stay consistent. And that's Terrion Arnold. I've got the Eagles trading up from 22 to 16. I think Z Berman, you've mentioned it before, that Eagles, Seahawks,
Yep.
John Schneider likes to move back. He wants to move back.
By the way, I did not get that from your piece. I just want to make that.
No,
abundantly
you
clear.
know,
Okay,
I didn't say
okay.
it.
You had a really
You'll
good.
know when I'm
Okay,
calling you
yeah.
out. So let me call you out.
Although
I'll
real
call you out
quick,
now.
you had the 4th rounder in there as a sweetener. Do they need the 4th rounder, or could you just do the Seahawks first and Seahawks third for the Eagles first and the Eagles second?
I don't know. Is that enough?
Based on some of the charts I was looking at.
There's
but
too
yeah,
many charts
exactly.
now.
Yeah,
Too many
true.
charts.
Yes.
We need one chart. I plug in the numbers and you tell me, do they work or not?
yes.
Now you look, it's, we came up with this chart. We came up
Yes.
with this chart. Well, I just need
Yeah,
one
okay.
chart. Let's
Okay.
get one chart.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go
So
ahead, call him out. You're going to call him out for something.
Why is everyone saying stick and pick this year? Is this a new thing? You keep saying stick and if they stick and pick at 22. I just heard someone else say it.
Is that not expression?
Is this a new draft thing this year?
Tools in the
You're
bag.
not
I
with
feel like
me.
I've heard it before.
Yeah.
Stick and pick?
Yes.
It sounds disgusting, first of all. And I have not heard anyone use this as consistently as they are this year.
That's your ick?
So let's take that out of here.
Okay,
Just say if they stay at 22.
Stay at 22.
We don't need to say stick and pick.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
So
obviously,
I've
we're
got,
going to be saying stick and
yeah.
pick all weekend.
So
now.
I've got Terrion Arnold. I'm not going to follow up. All right. I've got him trading up to 16.
Okay.
Yes. They give up 53. They get back 81. And then they got to give up 120, the 4th rounder. And they take
Do you
Terrion
think that
Arnold.
would be a good process? Giving up a 2nd-round pick,
would be.
even if whatever you get
getting
back?
the 3rd back. I don't know. I don't know if it's good. I think it goes with what. I mean, you were the one who was telling me SEC. It's not about Georgia players. It's about SEC. So that's one.
Yep.
I think he's pretty clean as far as.
I think he's a great prospect.
Yeah.
I love him.
Okay.
I just, the idea of giving up a 2nd-round pick because you are that confident in your evaluation that this guy's so
But
much
you're getting
better.
the 3rd back. It's the
Yeah, I
tier
don't know.
thing you talked about.
Yeah.
They're in this weird spot. I
weird
think
spot.
if they stay at 22, well, I won't say the names, but I think there's like 2 guys, and I don't know that either of them, they'd be like, yes, like, let's go. We're excited about it. So I got Terrion Arnold. There you go.
Okay.
All right, go ahead, Zach.
So then I have to go with the player that I just for
All right,
consistency.
3 corners off the board. in
I
the first
wrote
round.
that the player I think is most likely. I want to go with an offensive lineman here because I do think they're going to try to trade up for an offensive lineman, or they could stay at 22 and draft an offensive lineman. But I think DeJean is the most likely based on the profile. I heard Sheil's on the Ringer Philly Special Show, and his co-host Ben Solak was talking about DeJean and said that the Eagles view him as a corner. I get the sense of the same thing, that the Eagles do think he can play corner. The Eagles aren't looking at him as like a safety or a slot, that they think he can play on the outside. And I think it's an intriguing athletic profile. They brought him in for a 30 visit. Now, sometimes you do that for guys who are injured because you just want to kind of get a sense of their health. But I think that too is one where they really want to get a sense of the person. I think DeJean would make a lot of sense for the Eagles.
Yeah, I was debating in my mock. I was either going to have him take DeJean at 22 or trade up for Arnold or trade up for one other guy. So it's like corner skills right now are hard to what do you prioritize? Because it's such a zone league now that teams are playing such little man coverage that if you're just like Cooper DeJean playing zone, I'm good with it. But then we all know, like on a 3rd down and the red, like there's going to be a spot where you have to match up. That's my concern with him is it just him and another guy on an island. Is he going to be able to just be sticky enough in coverage to keep up with that
So
guy?
if I could push back, wasn't one of your roles that like coach these guys? That it's not the college guys.
Don't overrate your coaching. We just haven't seen him do it. He's at 60.
So,
you have to know your staff. That's why with an offensive lineman, if you told me they're taking Amarius, I'd be like, cool.
Okay.
If Jeff Stoutland liked it, I trust him. But you have to, and it's just he hasn't done it a lot. He's played 64 snaps of man coverage. You watch him on film. There are times where I don't think he's as sticky as Terrion Arnold or Wiggins or some of the other guys here. So that's my only concern. I like the physicality, the tackling. I think he would fit what they want to do defensively with Fangio. And you do get the higher floor because if you feel like, all right, if it doesn't work out, we're going to be able to use this guy somewhere, which is weird thinking because it's the first round. Like you're not taking a slot corner in the first round, but it does provide you with maybe a higher floor.
All right. I'm going to go off the first round track here. The thinking being that if they don't end up with a tackle in the first round and they're looking for some offensive line help, we know they're going to do that. Zach, you talked about bringing guys in and maybe checking out their medical. You sort of talk yourself into maybe a little bit of the Sidney Jones plan here.
Ooh.
And I'm going with your boy, Zach Zinter.
Oh, I like this one.
From Michigan, who mostly played red guard, but has that theoretical interior versatility, could even maybe swing out to tackle if need be. And there's like a nice wide range of where he could go. A player who's obviously on their radar. I'm going Zach Zinter.
I like the player. I mean, I think that Zach Zinter's brought down here because of the injury. It's not as if like he's never going to play football again. He broke his leg, right? And he's going to be, but going into the Ohio State game, he was viewed as one of the top offensive guards in the country. If you get a discount there, I think come like week 2, week 3, you're feeling good about that.
Okay.
I'm going old school. Like I didn't just want to pack up the laptop. You know, I've got it wired to monitors. I didn't want to pack it up. And then I was like, well, I could bring the iPad, but I haven't had pieces of paper in my hand in so long.
You have a good printer at home?
Yeah, you know, it took many a try, but we eventually found one. I'm not giving free advertising, okay? Well, Butcher Box pays a lot of money, but if you need a printer, I've actually had a listener tell me, thank you for the printer. He said, what's the printer? We're looking for a printer. I gave him the printer recommendation.
Yeah, we've had trouble with
nice and easy.
How hard is a printer?
Even I could say, have you tried to put a printer in your house?
Yes.
Impossible. All different. Again, it's like the, what were we just talking about?
Takes 30 seconds to set up.
It's like trade value charts. There's too many.
Takes 30 seconds to set up.
You probably got the one I got. There's others that don't. You got the
connect to the
cartridges.
Wi-Fi.
They cost $400. They last 2 things. No.
$80.
All right, I'm saying I think you probably got the same printer I finally landed on, so I could have used your help. I'm going to go JC Latham, ZB's boy.
Oh, okay.
I feel like maybe he falls to that. Now, the Fautanu thing's interesting. I don't have a strong sense of which one of those guys is going to go off the board first, but I think JC Latham is a guy, if he gets to that 16 range and they're saying, all right, should we move up here? He's another guy like Arnold I could see, all right, can play tackle, can play guard. Stoutland will be like, this guy is a beast. I can work with these 35-inch arms. So he's another guy I have on my list. So I'll take Latham.
Good pick.
Yeah, I'm well documented on the way I think about Latham, because this is predictive.
When he flexes on a guy like
because
that.
This is predictive and not kind of opinion based here. I'm gonna go with a player who I know Bo's higher on than I am, but I actually think he's someone that the Eagles would be interested in quite a bit, and that's Troy Fautanu from Washington. And the reason I say that is because I spoke about how the Eagles value the broad jump. He's the best broad jump of any of the first round offensive tackles. We've all seen I've seen Jeff. Was it the clip from the combine of Jeff Stoutland watching Fautanu? And I think that just overall, I understand the height's not there. Jason Peters was 6'4", right? But 34 and a half.
Is that true?
Yeah, Jason Peters was 6'4".
I had no idea. Did you know he was 6'7"?
Yeah.
Yes.
So even though Howie hasn't drafted an offensive tackle who's under 6'5", Fautanu is the same height as Jason Peters, longer arms, the 34 and a half inch arms, fit that threshold you're looking for. Like Graham Barton is 6'5", but doesn't have those arms. So sometimes you value the arms. I don't like the age. Like I said, I think there's more upside with a JC Latham, but I think Fautanu is a guy that will be on their radar for a trade up.
Just for the record, Zach, Adam Schefter just tweeted, the league's review into tampering allegations against the Falcons and Eagles is ongoing and will not conclude this week, per the NFL.
So correcting what he wrote yesterday, that it's going to happen quickly. Yes.
Oh.
Shots
fired at Schefter.
Ooh, all right.
Wow.
I like it.
I would never.
I love that.
Oh, no. Adam, I have great reverence
That
for.
is good stuff.
I have great reverence for Adam. A great reference.
Somebody's keeping track on the scoreboard. Just so you know.
No, Adam, please don't misperceive what I just said. Okay, please. Adam knows what I think of him. I've been very clear with Adam when I think of him.
And why isn't this snake? And why are you first? Did I miss that part of the proceedings?
I'm first because I crushed it last year.
Then he should go last, shouldn't he? What is this?
It's a bit of a reward.
Yeah. How does the NFL draft work?
There's 16 games.
I don't know.
That we
It's
do.
not a snake.
Yeah,
Did
the
you know
NFL
that?
draft's not a snake. Yeah, the worst team gets. He means that the champion goes last.
First of all, a snake would be far more exciting.
Yes.
So they should look into that. All right, go ahead.
All right, I'm going to go here.
The only game where it's not a snake and he has the first pick.
Middle round corner. If they don't get a corner in the first round, guy who they have brought in for a visit, some inside-outside versatility. Certainly the most well-educated and handsomest corner in the draft, and that is Jalen Carson from Wake Forest. Like a Jalen Carson, and I think there's a good shot that they take him in the middle rounds. So there you go.
He's been very injured, right? Jalen Carson?
Not very injured. He got injured before the Senior Bowl and had to drop out of the Senior Bowl.
All right. Who do I like here? See, this is weird. This might be bad for audio. I apologize to the podcast.
We're on YouTube.
Listeners.
Yeah.
I'm just crinkling some papers up here. All right. Here's a guy I like. I think you like him. One of you liked him. I think it was you. Well, Mike Hall, Ohio State.
I like Mike Hall. I really do like a Mike Hall.
Gap penetrating defensive tackle in the Milton Williams mold. Maybe you're not bringing Milton Williams back. You don't want to pay him. You say, who's a guy we can get here? Just will be 21 years old.
So you draft from the Sun
As a rookie, junior.
Yeah, that was a joke.
Mike Hall. Mike Hall
Normally
Jr.
I'm going this way after he says something. Now I have to go this way.
So I say that because in
something.
Bo's
That was
all-name team, it was Mike Hall Jr.
Right.
and then it was most likely to be the son of Michael, right?
Okay.
Yes.
So
Because Mike Hall, Michael.
yes,
Mike Hall.
I was setting up Bo's joke.
Mike
Joey is
Hall
cracking up at that one. Yeah.
Junior. This would be like a second round.
Okay.
I like him. I like
like
a
Mike
Mike Hall on as a day 2 option.
And just in this class, a young defensive tackle with that kind of athletic tools in his body, relatively rare in this class, it feels like.
So then I'm going to stick to my first round.
I don't have
here.
to keep track while I'm picking.
No, I've got it.
Yeah. And this is someone who I had in my first Eagles mock draft, and I've been talking him up actually ever since the season, and that's Amarius Mims. I think
pick.
Amarius Mims could be a stick and pick or a stick at 22 player that they draft. And as I wrote today, like if you, I just saw our Flyers guys come in. Matt Vaimakov, am I pronouncing it correctly?
You're asking the wrong guy.
Okay.
Beats the hell out of me.
If he becomes one of the top players in the NHL, you won't care that you waited 2 or 3 years for that to happen, right? Mims, my argument for this, like Fran Duffy said when he was sitting in the seat, is that if he becomes if it's like Jordan Mailata, if that's who if that's the comparison, if 3 years from now, 4 years from now, he's one of the best players at his position, you don't find high-end offensive tackles on the free agent market. It's a worthy bet to take. So that's why I like Mims for them.
I like Mims too. I think they would like Mims. I'm going to take one more potential first-round tackle who we have not had off the board yet, and this is a guy who might be slipping a little bit and could be a trade-down option for them. Or even, let's say the first round goes a certain way and they want to move up to the top of the second round if this guy is still on the board, and that is Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma. We've talked about him before. Enormous right tackle from Oklahoma, a little bit inexperienced, but boy, does he have some power behind him. And there's the Lane Johnson connectivity. Might be a stretch to see if he can play guard, but I think he's a player that Jeff Stoutland would like.
Mims with DeJean, I think, are the 2 likely options if they stay at 22. And I think 2 of the guys you got, Guyton and McKinstry, are like the likely if they trade back a little.
Yes.
And
then you've got Arnold and Zach Scott Fautanu, and maybe those are the 2 trade-up possibilities.
Yeah. All right. I'll go with another tackle here. Kingsley Suamatea from BYU. Now, where they're picking right now, would it necessarily
it's a tough one.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to go at 22. I don't think he's going to last until 50, but you maneuver across the board a little bit. And so 23 games at BYU, gave up 2 sacks on 700 pass blocking snaps. Just turned 21 in January. Seems like a good player to me. He's a prospect that I like quite a bit of Suamatea.
I like a Suamatea as well.
Okay. So I am going to go to everyone in Mays Landing watching this. Shout out to Cedar Creek High School, right? I'm going to go Max Melton. Melton, Rutgers corner. We've talked about him, inside out versatility, height, weight, speeds there. I think, he was a 4.38, 6 foot, 190 plus. And I like Rutgers defensive backs under Shiano.
Okay.
What's that? What's Shiano done that's so great? Like
Rutgers, the McCourty brothers, Harmon.
When was that? 1990? What has Shiano done recently?
He produced Max
Probably
Melton.
yelled at some guys.
Yeah.
He produced Max Melton.
Yeah, he's developed Max Melton.
Things like that's a story. All right. Well, when you join a credit union like TrueMark Financial, You become part owner, which means profits come back to you instead of going to shareholders. You get better rates, lower fees, and a better return on savings, plus more flexible options, all with the same digital tools and tech to make our lives easier. TrueMark has local roots, just like Max Melton, headquartered here in Fort Washington with 24 branches in the Philadelphia area. They serve our community and our people right here at home. Becoming a member of a credit union has so many benefits over being a customer at a bank. It is a total no-brainer. So head over to truemark.com. That's TRUMARK.com/PHLY to learn more or to find a branch near you. That's truemark.com/PHLY, federally insured by the NCUA.
Bo, do you mind telling our listeners about Bet Parks? I'm just going to make sure everything's okay here.
Sure.
While
no
the
problem
frame
at
is
all.
on you.
All right. Bet Parks, not Pet Barks. Bet Parks. Zach and I were lamenting last night. Both of us made a little move. Third quarter, Sixers down like 4 or 5 points. Get a little live action there. You got like plus 150. Feel like the Sixers got a good chance to come back. You're looking good, and then all of a sudden, everything goes to hell. Well, that's okay, because Bet Parks is there for you when the moments are big. The money is in the moments. So get in the zone with the Bet Parks Sportsbook app. Win big with all-day action. Win your first $10 bet and earn $125 in sports bonus bets. You play for fun. You love to win. You bet. Download the app and play along with us. Must be 21 or older. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Sheil, anything you want to say about Zach while he's out of the room? He's going to listen back to this, so you got about 2 seconds.
He's coming in. I didn't have time. I couldn't think on my feet. I'm like Nick Nurse with the Bobo timeout last
That was
night.
Bobo. Yeah, that was. Yeah, I mean, the complaining about not getting the timeout call, and then you watch it, and it's like he hasn't really called it, and then the other one he calls a little bit late. A little unbecoming.
I'm deciding whether I should just go off on the Sixers right now or not.
Go ahead, pull a less.
I mean, it's just a culture. Yeah, it's like a culture of excuse making and whining today. It's like you had many opportunities to win the game, you didn't do it, and it's like have you never had a bad whistle before? Like, did we just start watching sports today? Like, you've had bad calls in the past. Sometimes they go for you, sometimes they go against you. That's sports. If you watch the replay when the ball is being inbounds, he's literally doing a Bobo timeout. He's like holding it, thinking waiting, about it, and he doesn't do it. And then the other one, all right, fine. They missed that call,
but he did because the ball. He doesn't have possession when he's called
and there's a lot going on. Yeah, you might miss that. It's like stuff happens. What happened to just you lose a game and you say, it wasn't on the refs. Yeah. We need to do a better job. Like, what happened to the accountability? It's just like over and over again. Every postseason with this team, there's something like that. And then I feel like the fan base gets sucked into it, and they start embracing the excuse making. All the group chats, they're showing me screen grabs of a jersey being grabbed. It's like,
come on,
that happens.
Call the timeout after the bucket's made, and then set up your.
Just kind of annoyed by this.
Yeah, don't put it in the refs' hands. Isn't that the expression?
There you go.
So by the way, Breed, when he was calling me out there, I was wondering if there's a problem, if he wants to sit in here. No, he's totally fine. He wanted to make sure that we saw the comment that he put in. I was like, I didn't see the comment. So he commented.
I saw that he was in there. He said, Dad, I'm watching.
Oh, is that what he wrote?
I thought so, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. He commented on the side. And so he wanted to see if I saw the comment. But in any event, that we're all good. So
okay, Julia scouring.
No, sure, you don't have to scout. Yeah, you're good.
All right, I'm up here, round 5 as we approach 1 o'clock. How do you replace Jason Kelce? You know, you got Cam Jurgens in the
with
fold,
Cam Jurgens. That's how you replace him.
But you want a late round pick, an undersized guy with a great short shuttle, an overachiever, a little bit of position versatility, maybe more than Kelce had. This is one of my favorite players on the day 3 of the draft. Dylan McMahon from NC State, 6'3", 299 with a 4.33 short shuttle, ran a 5.1 40, has 44 starts to his belt at NC State, split between left guard, right guard, and center. I like a Dylan McMahon. I could see him if they get their tackle on day 1 or day 2 and they need a little interior offensive lineman backup, rounds 5, 6, 7. Dylan McMahon is my man.
Okay. Like that.
You do?
I mean, I like him going down for the 6th round. My board's mainly top 3 rounds, so I give him credit.
Yeah, well,
he's going for the points.
There is a way, but you get more points if you get a later round, right?
That's what I'm saying.
yeah,
Yeah, so that's why he's
him.
fishing
Okay,
for
all
that.
right.
Yeah.
I'll go. Have I taken every offensive tackle? How many offensive tackles?
You've only got 2. You've got Latham and Suamataia.
All right, I'm going to take a Roger Rosengarten from
Bo likes the Rosengarten.
Washington.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, that's it? I thought there was more backstory. No?
No,
He
he's
Yeah,
likes
that felt like an
Rosengarten.
insult, but
Yeah.
I like him. He's fine.
yeah. You
I would have preferred it to be an insult.
You
with a
brought him
follow-up.
up. He always mentions Henry Rosengartner whenever
I mean, it happened one time, and then you continue to bring it up. But yeah,
Okay. Roger,
very good athlete.
Roger Rosengarten, great athlete, broad jump, fast, has the tools Jeff Stoutland would want to work with, 6'5", 308, and was a good college player. So there you go. Maybe a day 2 option. I think I had him in my mock.
Okay.
Oh, now I get to see what a super chat looks so
Super
it really
chat.
gets highlighted.
Santiago wants to know
Okay.
what will it take to hire Sheil and Marissa. Sheil, the floor is yours.
Oh, yeah, that's a good, that's a good question. I don't know.
Name your prize.
I can't respond to the super chat. The super chat you have to respond to.
I mean, you're here.
Listen, a little Olipop and a T-shirt would have been a good start, but maybe next
We
time.
have a bunch of Olipop in that fridge. If That's
Okay.
what it takes. We're good for negotiations.
All right.
All right. Yeah, there's
Sheil, working on his gut health.
Gut health is important.
There's Reed. Dad, all right. We got to work on our spelling, but yeah, I appreciate that, Reed. Daddy's
Jeez.
watching.
You're like my mom. I got a 98. All right, what 2 did you get wrong? My entire childhood, every Kapadia child.
Wow, a lot of 98s.
You get
Good for you.
something. No, you get something that's just all right. Well, what were that was the first question
yeah.
every time.
Okay. Yeah.
Now I do that jokingly. My wife doesn't like. Don't do that. You know,
Trust me, no one's more
congratulations.
proud of Reed than I am. But yeah.
Okay. I might be.
In any event, my pick here. So I can't keep going with first and second round guys, but I'm going later on in the board. I've said edge rusher's not as pronounced a need as some Eagles fans and some of the reporters might suggest, but I do think it's something that they're kind of looking for developmental down the line. Alex Hunt from Houston Christian
Brought in for a visit.
and he was a safety at Cornell, right? You talk about like someone who intrigues me. A safety at Cornell.
Talk about someone who'd be off my board with that. If that's all you told me about him.
He was a safety at Cornell.
Princeton man.
Who develops into an edge rusher. There's some athleticism, as Howie would say. There's tools in the body for them to develop. A little older, 23, but 6'3", 240 or 6'4", thereabouts, 248. I think that's a profile the Eagles could look at as a developmental edge rusher.
All right, I will keep things moving here. Give me a late round player who they have had in for a visit. I've already got Kool-Aid McKinstry and Keelan Carson on my squad, but I'm going to go with Camarion Richardson, who is a height, weight, speed guy, a cornerback option for the Eagles, probably round 5-6.
The cousin of Devin White.
Really?
Yes, cousin of Devin White. Yeah, they both like horseback riding.
Do you like horseback riding?
No.
Have you ever been on a horse?
I have, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, back when I was younger, like I haven't been on a horse in a long time.
Okay.
Yeah. You like horseback riding?
I don't know that I've ever been on a horse.
Okay.
No.
Really?
I've been on a camel.
Okay,
Like
I've
a
done a
camel?
camel
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bet
I've
you
been
have.
on a camel before.
I know that's right. All right. I'm Johnny Wilson, wide receiver.
Okay.
Well, I feel like ZB would like this guy. You like a Johnny Wilson?
I like him as the converted tight end, right?
I do not
Okay.
like a Johnny Wilson.
Okay.
I like taking him as a wide receiver and playing him a tight end.
All right, he's a day 3.
It's like Howie's favorite thing.
Yes.
Some Bobo project tight end.
Well, Howie and I are kindred spirits in that regard, right?
Well, listen,
Yeah,
you
they've
got to
all worked out
replace
so
a
well.
MoMA. You got to replace a Akeem Butler.
Yep.
If you
Yep.
need a fade in a big
Yep.
spot to save Nick Sirianni's job, you go into a Johnny
Plus, if
Wilson.
you put Alberto out there, you know the defense is paying attention to him. So get another guy just like him.
And you
then
know
never
Hurts ain't
know
throwing
that.
the ball
Yeah,
to
exactly.
him.
It's like 17 yards a catch, though, Johnny Wilson.
Yeah, so
Jumps out.
6'6",
Is it Johnny Wilson or
231.
Wilson Johnny?
Johnny Wilson.
Ran a 4.52, 35 and 3/8 inch arms. I mean, he couldn't even he would probably be touching the wall here, right?
Probably
Is that how
so.
long that is? All right,
No.
so there you go. Johnny Wilson, 41 catches for 617 yards last year, averaged 17.2 yards per reception for his career. Hopefully, you get some national reporter coming in one day to training camp saying no one's talking about Johnny Wilson. This guy's going to take the league by storm, just like MoMA back in the day.
I like that. So I'm going day 2 offensive tackle here. This is a preference, but it came out actually today. Shout out to Andrew DeCecco. He's doing a real good job with this. which from Inside the Birds. He does all the visits. And Blake Fisher from Notre Dame. Blake Fisher is someone who I've pointed out back to the Fran show as I think he's an underrated offensive tackle. I think he gets kind of looped in with Joe Alt because of how good Joe Alt was. But Blake Fisher checks what you look for in terms of size, athleticism, experience, age. If you believe that Jeff Stoutland can develop someone with traits, Blake Fisher has those traits. I like Blake Fisher a lot. If the Eagles go corner day one, I would think Blake Fisher should be a candidate for them day two.
Blake Fisher, the second-round pick in my worst-case scenario mock draft.
Yeah, so you have Brock Bowers, Blake Fisher. That seems pretty good to me. But
All right, so why don't you like Blake Fisher?
I don't have anything against Blake Fisher in
You
particular.
literally put him in a worst-case scenario mock draft.
Right, and I'm going to explain why. Because first of all, it's trying to be realistic. They're not going to reach for like a fourth-round caliber guy. I'm skeptical of Blake Fisher in the second round because that's not where elite tackles come from. And so using a second-round pick on a tackle-only guy who doesn't have a ton of experience doesn't seem to me like the best use of resources when there are other things that they could address, especially if they have taken a luxury tight end in the first round and have given up a second-round pick to do so. Okay. I am going to go here. We've got 4 more selections each.
4?
So we can go a little bit quicker here. I will go the counterpart to Jalex Hunt, who I think is a similar type player, but a slightly better profile, a little bit younger, doesn't have the terrible experience of having played safety at Cornell. This is Austin Booker from Kansas, flashed at the Senior Bowl, was not arrested for it, and so I'm here for Austin Booker.
All right. I guess I should just go. I don't have an Austin Booker follow-up.
I mean, I can talk to you about his time at Kansas, but I think we're good there.
I think we're good.
You could go back to our Edge Rusher show for some good Austin Booker insight.
Yeah.
How many people you think are doing that?
I am.
If you want more Jalex Hunt, you have to go to the Edge Rusher show or the Safety show.
Actually, there's a different show that we had that in.
Okay.
But I would say that if you're interested, the viewers, you let me know. You can put it in the chat. You can message me at ZBerm on Twitter. You can send me an email at ZBerman. Oh, I'm sorry, at Zach at allphly.com.
Okay.
Which do you guys want a landing page? Do you guys want a landing page on allphly.com of all of our draft content? If you do, let me know. I will put it out there.
All right. Well, you'll make someone else do it.
Yeah. This isn't the type of place where we make someone else do something. Okay.
I think Julia would.
No.
Julia might disagree.
No. Like, if it, trust me, if something goes up on that site, there's no layer between me and that. I'm putting it up there.
All right, I'm going Miles Harden, cornerback, South Dakota. They had him in for a visit, right?
I actually don't believe.
Oh, they
had
didn't?
him in for a
I
visit.
thought I looked at
Maybe
an
they did,
Inquirer.
actually. Yeah, no, you
Devin
might be right. Yeah, I
Jackson,
think you might
great
be right.
job on the show. I thought he had it. He had him on there. So 5'11", 195, probably a nickel, but all those things people use to describe, nickel, go feisty,
Take Kamari Latham.
competitive.
Some history of day 3 corners from smaller schools with success. So
They
I
do?
like a Miles Harden. Yeah,
Oh, like who?
like Tariq Woolen.
Oh, league, you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought you meant Eagles. Okay, all right, there you go.
So I will go Trevin Wallace, the linebacker from Kentucky. I don't think the Eagles are going to push linebacker, but Trevin Wallace
Another pre-draft visit.
Yeah, has a profile that could jump out to them. This is not a very good linebacker class at all, to be frank. I don't think that they go second round linebacker. I don't think they go with an Edge Cooper or Junior Colson. But if you're talking about fourth round and Trevin Wallace is there, that's a player I could see them going after. All
right, I'm going to go wide receiver here at the start of round 8. And wide receiver is tough because there are so many wide receivers.
That's why it was hard for me.
The pool is narrower at different positions that they're going to draft, but they're going to draft a wide receiver at some point. I've talked about Jalen Polk being my guy. I don't think that he's going to be in range for them. However, his teammate, Jalen McMillan, you talk about a guy who has some downfield ability, could maybe play the Quez Watkins role. They're going to like the pedigree of having played at a big school. I could see that appealing to them. A player who has been comfortable, sharing targets. I think Jalen McMillan could make sense for them in, call it round 4.
I like a Polk too. I'll take some of the Polk stock.
Yeah, I love a Polk.
I'm in on a Polk.
And Polk is, I think, my favorite, relative to consensus guy of day 2.
Put Polk on a team with give me him with a good quarterback. I feel like he can have a very nice rookie season right away. All right. I'm getting a guy who I knew nothing about until yesterday when I did my 7-round mock draft on the Ringers Philly special. How about we fight for the cherry and the
I
Jordan
like this guy.
McGee,
Yeah.
Temple
Okay, I like that.
linebacker.
On my board as well.
Go ahead, ZB. Tell me all about Jordan McGee.
Jordan McGee ran, I think, a 4.58. Is that right?
4.55.
4.55.
Flippin'.
Shoot.
Ouch.
Okay. Jordan McGee. Yeah, he's from Delaware.
Dover.
Delaware.
You like a Dover?
I like all of Delaware. Great times in
I haven't
Delaware.
met her yet.
Bought a few times. I bought in a few pieces of electronics in Delaware.
Oh, that one. We won't name the store, but I think that best.
yes.
Place that best purchase
You know
place.
what it is.
Yeah, you go across the border, you don't pay the taxes.
Yeah, I believe that does more business
Oh,
than
my
any one of
goodness.
those stores
Exactly.
in America. If you knew that nugget.
Yeah, every time I need to get a laptop or a TV or something like that, I'm driving
All
down.
right, but are you
across the-
making up with the gas mileage what you're paying for the taxes?
Yeah, I mean for an appliance or for a piece of
You
technology.
like an appliance shopping?
That's not particular.
Love
I mean,
an appliance
no,
shopping.
you
Fridge, dishwasher, nothing
no,
better
you-
as an adult.
You hope you nail it the first time. You don't have to get it for a while.
Yeah, but you get the house and it has it.
Yeah,
you want to
yeah,
treat yourself a
okay.
little bit. All right. Okay.
Bo once had a story of a big box store that way, where he had an issue.
That's it. That's all. Those are the details.
You were getting
my dishwasher?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
right. I mean, should I name?
I mean,
the
I can
store?
think of things I enjoy as an
No,
adult
don't
slightly
name
more
the
than that.
store.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Okay. Go ahead.
All right, I'm going with Anaya Smith.
You should put
You're
that.
just sticking with the.
You should put
the
that
smart.
for the diehards. The dishwasher story.
I mean, it's not that. It's just a delivery that didn't work, or they
Yeah.
wouldn't
Yeah, you were
install
not,
it. Yeah.
You're not happy about that.
That's fine.
Anaya Smith, who, if you recall on the Coach Flynn episode, this is someone who I thought was underrated. The Texas A&M offense was weird last year. That's probably in the past few years. That's probably why Jimbo was fired, and they spent that big buyout. But I think this is a versatile player who you can use him different ways. I mean, he's more of a slot. He can help in the return game. You're looking at a day 3 type receiver. As Bo said, they brought him in. Aaron Wilson reported that they brought him in, and I think the fact that you're bringing in a guy from Texas A&M who's a day 3 guy shows that you want to do some more research on him.
All right, round 9 here. I'm going to go with
So 2 more picks.
2 more picks. I'm going to go with a real shot in the dark here. Let's say the Eagles do not address linebacker in the first 4 rounds of the draft. What do we know Howie Roseman wants at that position? Wants a guy with some speed. Doesn't mind if he's a little bit undersized. Well, very undersized from Florida State, 5'11 and a half, 210, but ran a 4.47 at the combine. Kalen DeLoach sort of strikes me as a Sean Bradley type, could contribute on special teams right away. Kalen DeLoach is my pick. If this one gets banged, I mean, that's a huge one for me.
All right. I will go with Christian Haynes, just so Bo can get some ageism out here. Guard from UConn.
Like a UConn?
24 years old. Oh yeah, that's true. You might be torn here. You like a UConn, but you don't. But you also like an ageism. So
yes.
This doesn't, the Venn diagram, it doesn't really
It's
fit.
tough.
Fit for you. 49 straight starts in his career. Gave up just 1 sack and 2 QB hits in the last 2 seasons. Good mover. Good Senior Bowl, I believe. Maybe a day 2 option if they don't draft an offensive lineman in the first round.
If the Eagles don't draft an offensive lineman in the first round, there's a school that's tied with Alabama and Auburn for the most offensive linemen that Howie Roseman has drafted from that school. Do you know what school that is?
TCU.
TCU, yes. Well
Really?
done. Texas Christian.
Matt
He
Pryor.
took Matt Pryor and Halapulavati Vaitai. And so, they like what they've gotten from Fort Worth in the past, and they can go do that well again. Brandon Coleman, who Jim Nagy from the Senior Bowl is saying is like someone who teams are higher on him than maybe the media is. And Brandon Coleman has guard tackle versatility. Certainly fits the like Bo said, the size prototype that the Eagles like. As I said, they had success with Vaitai. They had success with Pryor. They could go back to that well with Coleman.
If you wanted to do no work on the draft, but get some, like, what are the things you could put out there? You'd be like, the league likes this guy more than the media does for anybody. You could do that. You could do your thing yesterday. This is the 15th straight year that Howie Roseman is making calls in the first round.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there are things like that just
there's certain stock things you can say. Yeah.
It's like every year you can just, it's all right, it's draft time now. There
Yeah,
you go.
I saw our former colleague Ben Standing, like he said that if you say, oh, this guy's going to be drafted a lot earlier than people think, you have to show your work. You have to say when you think that guy's going to be drafted. Otherwise, it's,
I like that.
Yeah, because you're starting to see that. And then if it happens, you're like, I told you. But then even if he's drafted in like the 3rd round, you're like, I saw a mock draft that someone had in the 6th round. The other thing, my other pet peeve, okay, and I suppose I've done 3 mock drafts so far on all PHLY. I will do one. I will do a final one. But my pet peeve is when they draft a player and someone's like, I had him in my mock draft, and you had him in like an April, in like a March mock draft version, 6.3, and by that point you've covered every single guy, right? So I think your final one is like your predictive one.
There's all these sports media beats out there. I feel like there's a real watchdog site to be had out there where you tell me which agents are lying, who are inflating the salaries for every guy who gets signed in the NFL and the NBA, who's lying about some of this stuff, who's reporting stuff, that, they're making calls. Yeah, we know they're making calls.
Sure.
Like, come on, you're telling me you wouldn't read that? It would have to almost be like a Gossip Girl where we couldn't know who the person was because they'd be taking a lot of heat. I'm in on that business idea. Young journos out there, enterprising. Don't do what everyone else is doing. Do what I did. Send me the link. There you go.
Problem is now that you have put that out there, everyone's going to think it's you.
You think I'm doing the work to do all that? No, they know me better than that. No chance.
All right. I'm going to close mine out with, we've all sort of peppered the pre-draft visits. I'm going to add one last one here, and that is another offensive line possibility. A guy with some guard tackle flex, even though he's a little undersized at 6'3", 322, tested pretty well at the combine from Kansas City, Kansas. Went to Piper High School. Cooper Beebe.
Yeah, okay.
That's my final pick.
That was an interesting one because when I was reading a Cooper Beebe, I'm like, I don't think they're going to like a Cooper Beebe. And then they bring in a Cooper Beebe for a
shorter arms
visit.
Yeah.
And like the film says, not an athletic guy, right? Sort of like a brawler.
Bit of a plotter.
Yeah. But then he tested well.
He tested
correct?
Pretty well, yeah.
So maybe that's why they brought him in. Because that's what you want.
When the film doesn't match the testing, that's what you want to bring in a guy.
The new information, So
yeah, and especially if he's going to be playing interior, that's the problem. Is that's where people get to Brady, and so you need to stop that interior pass rush pressure.
All right, I'm debating between Taylor Demerson, a Solak and Baldy favorite,
and a.
Yes. What are you going to say? I have no idea what he's going to say. Do you know what he's going to say? Come on. Either. We're in like, Julia needs to go on with her day. Say what you were going to say. Or don't say it if it's going to get you fired.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Was going to get him fired. So there might be something about him. I don't know. I'm going to take him off my list. All right. Christian Mahogany, Boston College is another guy I'm thinking about. Olu Fashion, is he the sleeper?
Now you're pulling to me because I've got a lot of names I could have gone with.
No, but I'm
Jarvis Brownlee, Dominic Puny.
Okay, no one wants to hear about those.
Jonah Ellis,
Olu Fashion, is he could be the guy we're forgetting to he slips a little.
Yeah.
And you take him in the first round. Edgerrin Cooper, you don't think they like? They had him in for a visit,
I think
right?
I think they like. I don't think they're going round 2 corner. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, round 2 linebacker.
So Junior Colson, you're saying no?
I mean, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go with. Let's go with a Fashanu. Okay. We'll go with Olu Fashanu. Maybe he falls to 16-ish, and all of a sudden they trade up, and everyone says, who are they trading up for? And they say, and everyone says, Howie season. Did it again. Olu Fashanu.
Okay. All right. I can see that.
You're not excited about it. I know when you're enthusiastic and when
you're
not.
No. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what direction to go here for my last.
That way.
Take the Demerson guy, Taylor Demerson.
You know what? This guy is not linked to the Eagles in pre-draft visits. And this is one where I'm simply going based on, all right, there's no reporting here. No one's told me this, but I've covered the team for 13 years. This is just their type of player, right? And that is Tanner Bortolini.
You love that guy. I swear I've heard you say his name 400 times in the last 3 weeks.
Tanner Bortolini has...
It is fun to say.
But just the profile, right? Look, an interior guy from Wisconsin, top interior athlete at the combine in terms of certain in terms of certain testing. You talk about how you liked Jason Kelce having that speed downfield, like the size, the length. I haven't heard the Eagles link to him at all, but I think it's a profile that the Eagles will like.
Simpsons fans will appreciate that his nickname is Bort.
Ah, okay. You a big Simpsons guy?
Certain times in my life.
Certain times in your life? Okay.
All right, let me quickly run through the pre-draft visits who we did not draft. Just these are the guys who the Eagles have brought in who did not land on our boards. Andrew Phillips, the corner from Kentucky. Jerrion Jones, the late-round corner from Florida State. Elijah Jones from Boston College. Christian Mahogany and Travis Glover as offensive linemen. None of us took any of the early edge rushers who they brought in. Layatu Latu, Chop Robinson, Marshawn Nealand, and Idisa Isaac. At wide receiver, Xavier Leggett and Brendan Rice. And then Edrin Cooper, who you mentioned, running through our teams. I have.
Who's your source for the pre-draft visits?
I'm crediting Jimmy Kempski for
Okay.
bringing them all together on his landing page there. Kool-Aid McKinstry, Zach Zinter, Kalen Carson, Tyler Guyton, Dylan McMahon, DeCamarion Richardson, Austin Booker, Jalen McMillan, Kalen DeLoach, and Cooper Beebe for me. Terry and Arnold, J.C. Latham, Mike Hall Jr., Kingsley Suamatea, Roger Rosengarten, Johnny Wilson, Miles Harden, Jordan McGee, Christian Haynes, and Olu Fashanu for Sheil. And for Zach, Cooper DeJean, Troy Fautanu, Amarius Mims, Max Melton, Jalex Hunt, Blake Fisher, Trevin Wallace, Aeneas Smith, Brandon Coleman, and Tanner Bordolini.
Dancing back there.
Really put on a show. Are you sure he doesn't want to come in, say goodbye at the end of the episode?
Emily wants him to. She's texting me. Have Reed come
Reed,
on.
you want to come in?
No, he doesn't want to.
I'm not going to force the kid. Absolutely. All right. Sheil, what can our listeners look out for from you as the draft approaches?
Ringer.com, Ringer NFL show for the draft, and then the Ringer's Philly special, of course. I'm so used to working at home and eating very frequently that when I get to outside my comfort zone and I haven't eaten in a few hours, the stomach's now getting a little growl. You might have to, take that out of the audio.
A little gut health. All right. Zach, how you doing?
I gotta say, I love doing shows with Sheil. It's so much fun having him here. This is a blast. Time flies when we're with you.
I got the middle seat though.
Do you not like the middle?
It's tough to middle. I'm doing a lot of this.
You're
lucky I do the neck rolls every day.
Make sure to avoid the middle because he doesn't want to be playing ping pong.
You got to stretch the neck out every day. Very important.
Yeah, I was thinking the middle would be it's better for a guest, right? Because if a co-host is sitting there, you're going like that, So we're both directing stuff at you.
All right. I like it.
I referenced the protein shake thing at the beginning. I hope people are listening to the Philly special, that they understand this reference. There was a show about 2 weeks ago that they were talking about how jacked you are.
Cliff hadn't seen me in person, and so he probably assumed, rightfully so, that I was like a brittle old man who could, barely.
You finally got to meet him in person.
Walked with a hunchback. Yes, I got to meet him in person. He's like, you're not so bad.
Sheil over here.
You look fine. You're wearing a jacket, so there you go.
So that's what the reference is.
When you're old, you got to make sure everything works. That's all.
You feel intimidated by his physical presence?
Nah, I cover professional football players. I'm not intimidated. Yeah.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'm in.
Yeah, definitely not intimidated.
Zach, before we leave, I want to give you a chance to plug just the voluminous amount of content that we have on allphly.com right now.
And it's going to keep going too. Allphly.com is the place to go for all your Philly sports coverage, premium coverage of every team. Bo has this time of year. Bo's awesome with you saw.
Not the rest of the year, but just this time of year.
No, I'm saying all the draft data.
Fair, honestly.
All the draft data you had last week. The name guide yesterday, great. I always look forward to your worst case scenario mock draft, even though it wasn't really a worst case scenario. I believe you're gonna have a best case scenario, and you'll have a predictive one as well. I don't want to assign you work. I think that's what you said you're gonna be doing. I had 27 thoughts about the Eagles. That could have been more. I should have put in that one I was thinking about overnight that I did not put in. I
appreciated that you stayed away from exactly 25.
Yeah, that was a nod to you. And it would have been more if I didn't have to leave to come. I had a lot of work.
Actually, it would have been nice if the last one was just Vic Fangio, Patrick Surtain, Michael Ojemudia, and that was it.
That's it.
That was the thought.
That's it. Yeah. I had I had position capsules for positions that are in focus for the Eagles. I will have my Eagles mock draft out tomorrow, and then Thursday, for the first time since I was at the Inquirer. So I left after 2019. I'm going to have my NFL mock draft out. So I'm excited to get back in that game.
Right.
Haven't done that the past 4 years. I'll get back in that game. I'll have an NFL mock draft out. And this is all, of course, for diehards. We are going to have some non-diehard content. And we will have like my stuff from the draft, what Howie says, what Nick says. That'll be non-diehard. You can make sure you read that there. And then just shout out like all our coverage, but our Sixers writers in New York, our Sixers reporters in New York doing a great job. Kyle Neubeck on the scene, Derek Bodner on the scene. We're all hooked into the series, so make sure you check that out.
All right, good stuff. And we are back tomorrow at noon, Zach and me, with our 7-round Eagles mock drafts. And then on Thursday night, the whole first round, Friday, the whole second round, and we'll see what happens in the third round if the Eagles have picks. On Saturday, rounds 4, 5, and 6. Some special guests along the way. Going to have a lot of fun. So join us for all of that good stuff. Thank you to Sheil Kapadia. Read him at The Ringer. Listen to him there. And for all of us here at PHLY, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Shout out to Reed, our special guest. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.